You are listening and perhaps watching the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we hope the station for you is OTR. That's the Old Tube Radio Network in our 34th year on the air every Saturday, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific time, to listen for, talk about, and encourage those of you who have the classic tube radios produced from 1958 to 1978 for the Class D Citizen Radio Service to get on the air, at least for a few minutes, say hello to us, check out the audio, or do whatever it is you need to do on your tube radio. We enjoy it, and we're glad you are out there. Also, our shortwave listeners who, like myself, enjoy the classic sounds of the tube radios, and it's a good trip down memory lane for a lot of us who had or wanted to have the tube radios back in the day, and we should have some fun with that. Looking for our first radio here on the Old Tube Radio Network. My name is Dennis, and I'm standing by.
Station?
The station, go ahead, over.
Alrighty, SWL93 wants to check in this Johnson Messenger 223.
Hey, right off the top, and that will be a radio that will be enjoyed by some of our listeners, because Walter is waving a hand, sitting in front of his Messenger 223 out there in Missouri, so we got one live and direct. Give me another transmission, Louie, and I will see if I can't fire up the Old Tube Radio picture archives here and let our listeners and viewers take a look at Messenger 223 while you check in on yours, over.
Okay, alright. See if Walter's got the modulation light, because this one doesn't.
That is a good question. The photo, if I get it centered up here, we will start with, and we'll show them both, but I'll start with the E.F. Johnson 223 that does not have the modulation light. I don't have the info that lets me know if the modulation light was an early production run or a later production run, or just kind of willy-nilly. And if you're listening, Walter, leave us a note as to which unit you have, whether it has the modulation light or not. So, Louis, take another transmission. So how do you tell if your audio is happening? If you look at your meter, does it, on the transmit side, does it show the RF output, and you'll see a little bit of movement on the meter?
Yeah, on mine, there's a little bit of movement if you watch for it, but other than that, there's nothing.
All right, usually that's enough, and typically they would adjust the meters or adjust the radios so that when you key up, your meter should be somewhere in the center and move a little bit as you talk. And so if you have it way down on the left side or way over to the right side, smashing the case, you can either surmise that, one, you have no RF output, or you probably have a bad match. So as long as you're in the center and it's wiggling a little bit, it should be working fine. And it sounds like it's working fine, over.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's working fine. It sounds fine through the computer, so I must be doing something right.
You are doing it all correct. I've switched to the photo that shows the E.F. Johnson with the modulation light above what I think is the volume control. And it is just red, so I don't know if it starts red and has better intensity as you talk or not. But there's a difference, not much difference, except to put the light in there. So good deal. Our first radio at 8:52, E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, a very good seller for E.F. Johnson. They also contracted with Sears Roebuck. Anybody have an early 1970 catalog or a 69 catalog and that has the CB radios? take that, and you will find their, and I don't know what they called it, but it was an SR, it was a Sears Roebuck, but it was basically the Messenger 223. But they put the Sears logo on it. Radio produced from 1969 to 1972. Modification or an expansion of the Messenger 2, where they added the 23 channels, hence the 223.
It was the model 7535 from Sears Silvertone.
And the model Sears Silvertone 7535, according to Harvey. Thank you, sir, for that. So any of you have the Sears version of that, that is pretty rare. Typically, this radio sold for about $215 if you got it with the Johnson desk mic. Louis, back to you for a transmission, and thanks for bringing it by.
Yeah, no problem there. I got nothing better to do with it except for just sit here and talk on Saturday night. That's about it. This one here has got like the teardrop microphone. I don't know what Walter's got on his, but I got the teardrop.
They typically came with the desk mic, which we were showing or are showing. But according to my chart here, that was an option. You could buy it without the desk mic. It'd be about $15 cheaper. So does the microphone you have say Johnson on the front of it, E.F. Johnson?
Negative. It don't have nothing. It don't have nothing on it. It's just a black microphone, like a black teardrop microphone. Because I understand there was a gray one and a black one. Then they look like teardrops to me.
Okay, not sure if that was being official E.F. Johnson microphone. On the 223s, I have a Messenger 1 that has, I want to say it's a static. We call it the ice cream cone microphone. It's vertical, and you talk to the end through the end of it. And I also have one that has it's square. I wouldn't call it teardrop shape, but it has good audio. The microphone is a good match. That microphone is a good match for the radio. It's nice and loud and good audio, and it's really hard to make the E.F. Johnson's sound bad. And yours is sounding great, and getting us started off tonight with radio number 1. Thank you.
No problem. We'll be letting it go.
All right, let me do a little checking here. Who's listening? The Steve and Bob Show out there in Westchester, Ohio, and Oxford, Ohio, checking in. Thanks for the radio report out that way. And if we go over to the video side, who is in? DD21 listening in, AKA 00, SWL2, hello, OBP. Kevin is there. Let me get you checked in on the SWL side. Thank you, Kevin, who will be helping me answer your questions if you're watching us at oldtuberadio.net. And I'm not sure, what is the Discord link? Discord room. I don't even know what that is, Kevin. You'll have to explain that to me, but I hope it's something good. I bet it is. Butterbean checking in from Northeast Georgia, sounding good. Who else is out there? Walter, of course. Just a reminder, we do the roll call first, and I do not turn on the video because who wants to see half hour of me just shuffling papers? And then when the radios check in, the video comes on because there is more opportunity for the camera to be looking at something else besides me. So that's the deal. So you can listen to the audio if you're not within the RF zone at oldtuberadio.net, and then the video will begin when we start tuning, or when we start checking in the radios. Also, Crazy Bob DJ, good to hear you. I guess that was you. I saw New Jersey on there. And mentioning that he believes the 223 with the mod light came first, according to the advertising research that he has done. And he says the E.F. Johnson bean counters did that to keep the price from going up, or maybe it was one of those things. It was some circuit thing that wasn't right. Anyway, thanks, Bob, for that. You would think it was the other way around, but I see your reasoning for that, and that's a good thing. So let me stop talking and see if we got any more radios checking in on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Hey, Dennis, 45.
And 45, hello, Paul. Step up into the air chair, but take a moment. Don't key up just yet. I wanted to pick up another breaking station, but you will be radio number 2. That's Paul up there in North Fork. But before we talk to Paul, who is the station calling for OTR? Over. Is somebody called for Dennis? Over.
Yeah, this is Jeff.
Okay, your audio is breaking up. I think you said it was Jeff?
Yeah.
Hello, radio. Welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. I don't know if you are here in the Central Valley, if we're having skip conditions, but we are here every Saturday evening talking about and talking with the glow-in-the-dark tube radios from 1958 to 1978.
Yeah, I've been watching or listening probably a month or so.
Oh, really? Are you local to Central Valley?
Yes, I am. Clovis, California.
Oh, out in Clovis. Sounding good in the neighborhood. Would you like to get on the SWL list?
Honestly, I have no idea what SWL means.
Oh, that's the shortwave listener. Since you are actually a shortwave listener of sorts, tuning in weekly here on Saturday evenings.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
All right, I'm going to put you in as SWL 145, and that is Jeff. I don't know if you have a CB handle or not.
Yeah, TZE 103.
All right, I got the number 103. What came before that? Over.
TZE.
That was Cheesy E's?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get my spelling. And I'll have you in as SWL 145. We do the roll call at the beginning of the net from 8 to about 8:30. And we'll call for you. No problem. You can check in any time, of course, while the net is in progress. Jeff out there in Clovis. Sounding good, and thanks for listening. And, of course, you don't need any numbers. If you find yourself in front of one of the classic tube radios at any time, feel free to check in, and we'll put you on the big list. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
And this is the Old Tube Radio Network. I have to get some water here. It got hot again. It was 102, 103. Today in Fresno, back to the thing, and it's 82. I had to check my temperature. 82 in the Radio Shack. Normally it's 92. So my cooling project that has taken forever is finally done. And it is apparently working. Okay, Paul, thanks for being patient and stepping up into the radio chair, and we'll find out what you've got for Radio 2. Over.
Yeah, okay. This one I'm really proud of. This is my helicopter's model CB1.
Oh, man, you have fooled me completely. That... Wait till anybody watching, wait till you see the picture of this radio. You would not think it could sound that good. The helicopter's CB1, real classic style. I think, who is the only other person that has one that we checked in is Cliff. So if you're listening, Cliff, we are going to be using your photo of the CB1 as we go back to Paul, checking in on the helicopters with the Magic Eye tube. Over.
Yeah, you bet. If you see it, it's a real good picture of it there. You see the bar I got to push too when I'm talking to you. The microphone doesn't have any switches in it. You use the bar, just push it down, and then you transmit on the mic. And I'm running a Electro Voice 726 on the thing. I wish I had a microphone like that's the original mic that's in the picture. I'll find one someday, maybe. Anyway, I'll get back. Let me know what you know about it, and I'll get back with that.
Okay, well, that explains the audio. Cliff actually checks in with that microphone. I think it's a ceramic or a crystal cartridge. because it definitely has some old tube radio sound to it. That's why you fooled me, because I know what his sounds like. And your audio is a bit different, but with the EV microphone, I can see that. So I'm not sure how I thought that was hardwired in, so you might have to do a little trickery to get it in there. But I bet you're making that magic iTube dance. If you're watching or looking at the video, this is basically a speaker case, one of the Hallicrafters speakers, and they secreted the transmitter receiver in there somehow. I think this is a one-channel radio. Let me look at my notes here. But it's a push-to-talk bar, and then you hold the microphone microphonium in front of your face. The CB1, 1959. This was their first. Hallicrafters, of course, was making amateur radio receivers and transmitters, and then they got into the Class D with this radio here, a classic, and it was only there wasn't a mobile version of this. It was just 115 volt AC, 1959, and it's got 11 tubes. It actually uses a rectifier, a 5Y3GT. So your audio is great. I hope you get a chance, and I see why you're proud of this radio, Paul. I hope you get a chance to listen to the archives. We'll go back to you for another transmission.
Yeah, that's not watching it. This microphone is ceramic mic. Of course, it isn't strung for the radio, but it is ceramic. It's a banana-type mic. But ours is an amazing little radio. I'll tell you, they got a speaker in the upper right-hand part of the grill there. And this speaker's not real good on this one, but it may get my ears better than that. And down the bottom's got a volume and off control. And in the back, you got an adjustment slide switch for squelch control. I don't know what all I can see of it cuts out a speaker and no telling where it goes from there. But I never have used that, haven't really needed to. But that magic eye, I love bouncing. It's going all the way down, so this microphone's working. Back to you, Dennis.
That's working great. I might have to adjust some audio here. Everybody, the receive. I hope the receive's not distorting on the internet. Everybody's coming in loud tonight. I made some adjustments. And it looks like it's peaking the audio quite well.
The video has a 6B6 modulator.
6, yeah, and the mod indicator is a 6E5. And I'm showing a 6E5 for the mod indicator. I guess that's a Magic Eye, or 6E6. And all 6-volt tubes except for the 5-volt rectifier. Harvey chimed in there on the crossband. And Mike 47, if you are listening, this is another radio you need in your collection. And I guarantee you this is going to be hard to find, the Magic, because Mike 47 likes to have the Magic iTube radios. And this is probably one that he doesn't have, but would like to. I know he's looking for the Gonset communicator. Sounds good, Harvey. A good choice of microphones. And you know what? That is a one-channel radio. So on your next transmission, I will saunter over to the receiver. We'll see how close the crystal is working for you. Over.
Yeah, okay. You'll find us right on. It's solid on that. This radio is really a well-made radio. On the Hallicrafters, it's a good-sized radio. It's about 14 inches wide on the thing and about 9, 10 inches deep or longer than that. It carries the tubes in there just fine. They're not covered up with everything else. Neat radio. Hallicrafters has always been one of my favorites anyway. But anyway, that's about it. Other than that, it's just a real neat radio. I'm sure proud to have it. Back to you, Dennis.
And when our collectors, our radio operators have great radios, we are the benefactor here. We benefit from their taking the time and money and space, the radio real estate, to keep these radios and get them on the air. So we're always thrilled to get whatever we can muster up on the air, and the Hallicrafter CB1 is a great choice tonight, Paul. On Sam's CB1. You know this is one of the original ones when you're in Sam's PhotoFax CB1 on page 59 from Hallicrafters. This is back before they were sold to Northrop Corporation, Northrop Aircraft, and started being farmed out to import radios. This is the real Hallicrafters with out of Chicago, I believe. It reminds me, I've got an HT37. It uses the same knobs, I think. My HT37 has that same gray knob. Actually, just total coolness. And thanks for bringing by our second radio of the evening, from Helicrafters. Over.
Yeah, you bet. No, it's definitely my pleasure. I really enjoy operating this old radio. It's not difficult. It's a little different, but you got to push that bar. But that's the whole time. Real proud of it. Thanks again, Dennis.
Good signal. I was looking at S8 above the noise, and the audio quality is really nice. It doesn't have a bassy or a tinny sound. It really sounds like your voice. So with that microphone, the radio is in decent shape. I wanted to, before we look for Radio 3 here, say hello to those watching in. Brian, the mighty KUH, waving a hand, saying good evening to OTR from his Radio Shack that's got a great combination of old tube radios and the new stuff as well. Also, Walter saying, have I seen the steel-stamped face on the Johnson Messenger? I don't know. I thought they were all steel on them, like the Messenger 1. It was like the brushed. Well, maybe not steel. They were brushed aluminum with the bumpy. So maybe what you're saying it's a flat steel single channel. Oh, it's a single channel. The other Messenger's not a single channel. Okay, maybe that, like you said, that was their first get into the game in 1958-59 and then come out with the other ones. I have not seen that in the Messenger, precursor to the Messenger 1.
The Messenger 202.
Messenger 202. Single channel.
And they made about 5 versions of it.
And they made about 5 versions of that. Thank you, Harvey, for chiming in that way. I don't know if we have pictures of that or not. I don't think we've ever checked in a Messenger 202. I don't know if we have pictures, so we'll have to try and get something with that. Who else? Breaker Broke 23, 390 Port Angeles is waving a hand, and of course TB40 Ford from Travis from Kentucky, sounding good. And 357 up around Vancouver Way. She's been listening and watching a long time here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello to you. Let me stop talking and see if we can grab radio number 3 on the Old Tube Radio Network.
37.
We can certainly grab a shortwave listener check-in. Hello, Chris. We'll get 37 on the board. Over.
And under and done and all that kind of good over and unders, huh?
Yeah, all that good stuff. All right. Got you officially checked in. And I think I got most of my big projects here done this week, finally. So maybe I will actually have time to give you a phonium call and stop by here soon.
I will be here until, let's see, Friday. I'll leave here Friday afternoon, going to men's camp. But, the other family will be here, but they won't be able to help you on it. But anyway, yeah.
All right, sounds good. We've got you checked in on the SWL list. This is our first of the 8-week period. It's looking good.
All right, man. I got a number 1 on there, huh?
Well, yeah, you've got the first of the 8 weeks.
Yeah, number 1.
Number 1 of 8.
Yeah, number 1 for me is my first one, so it's number 1 for me.
That is correct. Speaking of number 1, we are looking for, well, actually we have a couple of radios. We're looking for Radio 3. The Jingle Singers are saying, we passed the top of the hour. Man, time is just flying by here. Let's do a little ID so people listening in or tuning in will know what it is they're listening to.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Looking for Radio 3. And thank you for the live stream audio comment, Ray, SWL44. You know, because I was doing some other audio production earlier in the week, I had the board reconfigured. And so things are actually in stereo tonight. You may say, how is that possible? Well, let's see. Let me try something here. If you are listening on headphoniums or something that has dual left to right, let me grab the control, and we'll try this out. We're actually in stereo, so here we go. This is, there we go. This is your left channel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, radio, and this is over on your right channel, 1, 2, 3, 4, radio. And, of course, I have to get the balance control back. And the Jingle Singers, even though they're not quite in stereo, are coming through the stereo processor, so they might find it a little bit different tonight. And I suppose if I would get a pseudo-stereo generator, I could get the receive to come in pseudo-stereo to light up the stereo light on your... What was that radio that Joe had, the 29 Plus? I bet it has a stereo generator light. OTR looking for Radio 3.
Break OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead, please, over.
Well, thank you, Dennis. This is me once again, but on this. I'm going to check in on my Courier Royale. This is a 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark with all the lights and the knobs and everything, even the hidden ones in the back. But this is mine, and we are running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
Sounding good. You don't often start with the Courier. You grab a shot of the Courier Royale. I think their final, I don't know if their final radio, but their final tube radio perhaps. Very deluxe. Lots of controls, and I think they even had to put some in the back of the radio, or something's in the back of the radio. Sounding good. Give us another transmission. You are Radio 3.
Okay, and on the back of the radio, it's got the mic gain. That's where it is back there, on the back side of the mic gain. Well, I guess there wasn't enough room in the front, so they had to put it in the back.
At least on that radio, I'm trying to think if we had the controversy, and maybe it was Phil that has one or something, where his doesn't have a mic gain, or they move the mic gain, or something like that. So you are lucky if you've got a mic gain anywhere on that radio. I guess if you have to put a control in the back, that would be a good one. Normally with the mic gain, you're going to set and forget anyway, or you're going to have an amplified microphone so you can set your radio gain and then adjust at the microphone. Courier Royale, that can go 12-volt DC if you've got the proper cord. It does have 11 tubes, and I see there is a service manual at oldtuberadio.com if you want to get in there and fix something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it has, and we've mentioned this before, not a lot of CB radios had this, but a lot of ham radios did, especially Collins, because it has the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter, which works keeping your receive sounding good.
It's sounding good over here. It is.
Yeah, well, making me sound good. Any radio that makes me sound good, I'm all for that. You are Radio 3 in the Old Tube Radio Network as we endeavor to try and check in and listen for as many of the old tube radios that are still around and kicking here in the 2 hours that we have. Thanks for checking that one in tonight.
You bet.
And let's see who else is watching tonight. 321 is at Catbox NWC, checking in out of New York. A lot of New York stations into the wee morning hours as we approach Sunday morning. And I can never talk to the down on 75 meters, K1JJ and all those guys firing up the big iron with the big antennas. I hear them, but I can't talk to them down there. If you want to hear some great AM, listen to the East Coast guys for sure. Who else is also New York? Smarty Jones, listening in, tuning in at oldtuberadio.net. We're looking for Radio 4.
Break OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. It's been a long time since I talked to you, so I'll try to get this in, for I know how busy it is. I want to check in my G Power Mate, but I'm doing everything backwards today, aren't I? My G Power Mate, the Jim Marine Products, 23-channel tube that glows bright. This is the pretty blue one, that's right. And we are running this from here with the amplified D104 also.
Okay, doing a good job. I was sort of waiting for the Northwest stations out of Spokane and Seattle to pop in there tonight, like they did the last time. The band is just really quiet. I don't hear that static, that rushing noise that we need when you know the band is open. And yeah, it's been at least a few minutes since we talked, but you were on a different radio. You were glowing in the dark, and you still are. The radio that we're showing on the video at oldtuberadio.net is indeed the one on which you are transmitting on Channel 11. So back to you.
You know, it shows a light right there. That 11 is lit up over here. And, you know, I got to say one thing here. The last few weeks, I guess they turned off their glow lights. They don't need them no more.
Well, you know, when you first mentioned that, I didn't even think that could be it. But it could be many things. But I'm glad that they're gone.
I am too. They're driving me crazy. I couldn't talk on my radio.
Well, you could talk on it. You just couldn't hear anybody talking back to you.
That you got a good point there. That might have been the problem.
Well, it's sounding good now, and we're glad that you are in the Radio Shack checking in some radios. Radio 4 right now from Gem Marine Products G Power Mate, based on the Panasonic chassis that I believe a lot of radios used, like the Robin T123B. Different configurations on the front end between the S-meter and PA or range boost, range expand. But a great all-around chassis. Might even be plate modulated as well, I think. Sounding good. We'll go back to you for another transmission, and thanks for bringing by Radio 4 on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Thank you for being there. I'll see if I can fire up a known here. I got to turn some power onto it, and then we'll see what we can do. So, all right, Dennis, I'm out.
Yeah, you got to have the power to the radio for things to work. We are looking for radio number 5. Well, just really quiet. My noise blanker is, whatever noise I have, the noise blanker's taking it out tonight. And 45. Hello, Paul.
Okay. I want to carry on with the helicopters. I want to check in my helicopter CB7.
CB7. That was their line of radios, and they had. I had a CB11A, which was a set of, or they were 100 milliwatt walkie-talkies. I had a set of those. That's how I really got my start in the 11-meter radio world. We'll find the CB7 and see how it's working. The audio was just a bit broken when you came in, but I think it was behaving. We'll see what happens. Back to you.
Okay, yeah, there's a pretty good picture in the archives on the thing, or not in the tube radio list. So it should be popping up there pretty soon. But anyway, it's a real neat radio. Like all my radios are neat. This one here is a little bit more as far as used it for a mobile, and you have more channels and everything. It's quite an upgrade from the one that I checked in before. It's a 6-channel, and it's got 12 volume control in the front, and no magic eye, which really hurts my feelings. It's got a little yellow light down there that glows a little bit, but boy, it's not like a magic eye. But it's a good radio, and I'm sure you have some more to add to it.
Well, I'm looking here to see what I've got. Told me the image wasn't available, but I found it. But it doesn't have the stats to go with it. Audio is good. I'm assuming you're on the stock microphone. We're showing one with the red H Hallicrafters logo. And I'm not sure if this is like the CB3A where you could add some extra things. I see there is an S meter on the one we're showing. Does yours have an S meter over?
No, it's got a slot for one. My other radio does. My other one I was going to check in on what's going to work or not. It's got a meter that works too. It used to work. No, it's nothing like that. It's just a plain front, easy front of the thing. It's got a face for an extra crystal in the front, I believe. I see the holes there. And this I'm talking on is a ceramic electric voice stock microphone. It has the name right on the front, Hallicrafters. And it's hardwired in too, so they're not going to change it real easily. Yeah, no modulation light. It has that little modulation light on the bottom left-hand side there. And of course it gets louder as I talk. Drops off when I don't. And that's about it. It's got 2 lockdown latches on the thing, which makes it so easy to do anything on the inside of it. If you want to, if you got to change a crystal or something, you just pop it open and go to work on it. No screws to take out or nothing. Very good idea, but I guess it was just too nice, so they quit making it. Thanks, Dan.
I think all their early CB series were similar radios, just changing things around a bit. Believe it or not, your CB1, I think, actually has a little bit cleaner, little bit better audio than this one, believe it or not. This has a comparable signal, for sure, between the other two. From Hallicrafters, this is the CB7. I do not have a production year or other information that I thought I had, but I'm going to say this is 64 or 65, and if I come up with something, I will let you know. But Hallicrafters is one of my favorite radios. My first shortwave radio receiver was the Hallicrafters. First walkie-talkies, Hallicrafters. I've got my first DX FM AM radio, Hallicrafters FM 1000. And I have, that has checked into OTR, but not for a long, long time, my HT37 transmitter. I believe that runs 6146s. So you can't go wrong with the Hallicrafters logo sitting on your table. Thanks for Radio 5, the CB7, and if you've still got it fired up, give us another transmission before you go. Over.
Yeah, one thing nice about it, it's sold for $99.95, and it was manufactured in 1965. So that fixture is actually about one was manufactured, and they changed a lot of things on it, but they didn't go berserk like a lot of them did. Anyway, thanks for checking it in, Dennis. 37. And
thanks for bringing it by. Always good to check in a Tube Radio, because we're the old Tube Radio Network, and that is why we are here. Let's see, Jingle Singers. Hang on, Jingle Singers. We got another radio. Hello, 37.
Okay, Dennis. Well, I got it warmed. I hope it's working. Am I working?
You are working. Over.
All right, so it keys up saying I'm on the air. So I want to check in my Hallicrafters model, CB3A 8-channel transceiver, and we are running this in here with the original handheld Carbon microphone. Over.
Carbon microphone sounding good. We'll go back probably 2 years from when the CB7 came out, and those looking at the pictures or watching the video will see that there's a bit of similarity here between the 7 and the 3, the 7 being the later model. And using some of the same items where you can have an external S meter, an optional S meter, which I don't think you have, but we're showing it in the video here. Audio sounds good for a Carbon microphone. Back to you.
Yeah. No, I don't have none of the meters, no whatever, all those meters didn't have to receive and stuff like that. But, hey, that's all right. I got other gauges up here that lets me know if it's transmitting.
And I know if it's receiving, but that's when I hear you.
That's good. Hearing me is a good thing. I wish I had my HT37 up in an operating position. It would be fun to get that one fired up as well. It's a little bit more of a chore to get it in on 11 meters, but it can be done by swapping the crystals around. Of course, these are their Class D radios that came kind of ex post facto from the HT32 and the 37, so there is no problem getting them fired up on 11 meters as you have done. The Hallicrafters CB3A, $159.95 in 1963, similar to the RCA Mark 7. Can go 12-volt DC if you got the right cord. Only 7 tubes. They got rid of the rectifiers and all sorts of stuff. I don't know how they did it with only 7 tubes, but they did. There's a schematic available at oldtuberadio.com. And you are Radio 6. Give us another transmission. Thanks for bringing it by. Over.
You bet, Dennis. Well, I figured I'd try to get it going while I could. So, all right, I'm going to try to get back with another here in just a minute or two.
And Walter, how can you get a photo in? Here's something to try. If you go to oldtuberadio.com and go to the home page where it says Welcome to the Old Tube Radio Archives, if you scroll down just a little bit, I believe there's a link to admin at oldtuberadio.com. And that's an email for Rob, SWL3. If you are able to send a photo in that link, then I believe it will actually get to me, or it will get posted or added at some point. And we'll see it. Actually, it may get posted so that we can use it on the air. Also, if you have Facebook, I believe there's a way to leave photos that way. And everybody will see them. So try the admin at oldtuberadio.com. And I've got to check with Rob to make sure that is still a valid email address, but I think it is. So I would say give that a try, as well as the Facebook site. Jingle Singers are banging on the glass. Hold on. Let me open the microphone over there so people know what it is they're listening to on OTR here.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Hey, Danny, what kind of radio do you have?
I've got a lot of old tube radios that none of which I'm using at the moment to do the net. I've got E.F. Johnson and General Radio Telephone, a Pierce Simpson, Guardian 23, the Tram, which you see behind me here, the Eagle, but I'm running a Yaesu radio for the internet here. I need to have the audio output so I can distribute audio through the sound card and through the internet. So that's probably why I don't sound as good as the stations checking in. That's often the case. I'll watch the archives back or watch the video back, and I will be amazed because my audio is going straight through into the sound card at sometimes how the radios sound better than I am. And I'm sitting here with the professional microphone, and the tube radios sound better than me. So that tells you something.
37?
Yeah, I got a unit and QC68 LTN.
37.
I'm pretty good.
Sounds good. Hopefully it makes me sound good. And you are not doing too bad. About an S7, S8 my noise levels in the S7 mode. As you may or may not know, we do streaming live audio at the same time here when we're on the net. So if you go to oldtuberadio.net, if you have Universal Media Network capabilities, you can actually listen in to, it'll have a little bit of a delay to it, but you can listen in the audio and even give yourself a radio check, believe it or not. And then, of course, the video archives are up for a while as well. We are looking for Radio 7, and I believe we have Radio 7 online with us now. Hello, Chris.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was working there for a minute. Anyway, yes, it is working. I see it is now. But anyway, Dennis, listen here. I want to check this one in. That's my other 23 channel. Listen, here's the Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver, and we are running this in here with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Original microphone sounding good, which I think we determined at some point that way was the way to go. And of course, I don't think you can go wrong with any microphone when you have Chris on one side of the microphone and you have Chris on the other side of the microphone. Over.
Well, you can just call those the Chris's, huh?
Well, that's where you get the name, the Chris 23 Plus. We know what the Plus is now.
Yeah, that'd be the other Chris.
Might be spelled a little bit differently, but we know what we mean. This is also one of the import chassis, so it would be very similar to your Jim Marine Products G PowerMate if you look down inside. I think it's configured a little bit differently on the front side, but it's basically the 11-tube Panasonic chassis, 115 volt AC, 12 volt DC, with an operator's manual at oldtuberadio.com. Radio 7 sounding good. Back to you for transmission.
Okay, but if you look at them side by side, even front, the whole chassis on the outside is identical. The front plate is well, actually, it's more or less about the same, except for where the channel selector is. It's a little bit different on the channel selector than what it is on the other one. The other one's got like a quarter moon. This here's a little square one. And the modulation light on this one here is in the center, and on the other one, transceiver and transmit and receive lights are toward the left of the channel selector. So that's a little bit of the difference there. And plus, the mic plug is in the middle, where on the power mate to the right. The CVPA switch is in the same area, but other than that, there's basically the same thing, I think.
And you are correct. There was probably 3 or 4 different external versions of that, with or without range boost, with or without S-meter RF adjustments, and maybe even mod lights. But when you look inside, all basically the same. That's why they all those radios from that era sound nice and loud and work quite well. Your Chris 23 Plus, a good addition to our radio collection tonight at Radio 7. Thanks for bringing it by.
Yeah, bet. Well, I was going good tonight. I've got one more to check in, but I got to let it warm up.
And that is a good thing. We recommend at least a couple minutes of warm-up time, and we're here for a good another 20, 25 minutes, so it shouldn't be a problem on the Old Tube Radio Network. And there is a good-sounding radio beaconing in. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, I'm back with a General Radio Telephone VS2. This is the first mobile radio that they made, so it's kind of a unique, neat. I'll explain it about later.
All right, let me get my video updated here. And that is our first general radio telephone, the VS2 with the vibration service. I think for the VS stood for, and the 2. I believe I have a 2. I know I was talking to to Jeff about my radios, and I forgot that I do have a general radio telephone, which I believe is a VS2 that I've actually used for, well, if not for net control, at least to check in. We'll find a shot of the VS2 and go back to you for some audio. Over.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that old radio. The Jim SW1, that's the one he liked. Much like this one, of course, they all look about the same, but he talked on a lot, and it really started the thing going before Johnson, as far as General's going. Anyway, back to you on that.
Yeah, in fact, the VS2 I have is from Jim's collection. There we go. Here's a shot. I want to see if it's correct, because it's showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels. And like the E.F. Johnson at the time, the Messenger went very, very plain, very simple to get you on the air. Get you dialed in 1962 to 63. The price on those, $139, so it was a little bit less than their Master Control series. Wasn't quite as elaborate. And it, of course, did go 12-volt DC and 115-volt AC as well. So you could use it base or mobile. Says serial C9909 has 2 side switches in the face of the radio that are not hooked to anything. Unknown if there was a factory or a modification. So maybe the photo we're showing isn't quite exactly what you have. It's got some modified switches, but it's that black box about the size of a loaf of bread, I guess.
Yeah, you're about right. When they came up with these things, I've read the article on how they tested them. It's amazing what they did to these little radios, and I believe it. I think you could almost bounce them up and down like a basketball, and they would still be intact. It's tremendously tough made radio. A lot of tubes in the thing. My goodness, it had a whole bunch of tubes. I forget how many it's got in the thing. It's got 5 crystal control channels, and let's see, I don't know, 3 tubes it's got in there. Had it written down for it. I know, you probably know. 5, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe.
Boy, you always make me try to sound smart, and then when I try to do that, I fail. So all I can tell you is it's sounding good. In fact, I'd like to do a frequency check on that general radio telephone, and yeah, that's why they call them the vibration service, built like a tank. Come back with the transmission. We'll find out how those crystals worked through all that vibration.
Yeah, okay. Microphone. They're one of the old standbys that they had. And they're using all the later model ones, too. They sound good. Like you say, you bang them up and down a little bit, they'll start working if they're not working real well. Really interesting microphone. Harvey got some stories about one. He said he got some out of the telephone, put in his radio. Gave him a power mic. It was interesting. I hope he has maybe that game. Anyway, back to you.
Carbon microphones holding up well. Plenty of audio. And the VS2 crystal a bit on the high side, 27.086 and a half, so about a kc and a half high, which I think is going to be fine for most radios, unless you're on something with a real tight receiver. Then you might want to go to your plus side on the Delta Tune. Paul might sound a little bit better, but he sounds great here at Old Tube Radio Control on the VS2 from 1962 to 63. Doing a good job tonight. Over.
Yeah. I was just thinking about those. I'm still looking up here and find them. The tube this thing's got in it. So I can't find it. I'll find it when I'm looking for it. No, it's a neat little radio. I'll tell you that. Tough as it can be. Very small, very well made. And General Radio Telephone, they did a good job. They kept this design for quite a number of years. Matter of fact, when they come out with the last one, for the VS12, which I have, but I don't have any receive on it. But they had crammed into just about as much in that one or more. They had the ECL 800 put in that thing, one of the earlier ones. Then they went back to this design right here and changed it back. So I guess the big old troops and everything, got everything out of there that They couldn't keep it on frequency or whatever happened. But it was a giant mobile radio compared to some of the... Anyway, my meeting sets and all of that. It's interesting to see how these things progress. Back to you.
Indeed, and there were a few of the vibration service radios as General Radio Telephone made modifications or, like I said, tried prototypes as we're seeing with the switches on the front. And I think General Radio Telephone was infamous for, as the production line was going along, adding and subtracting things and throwing them out to the public and seeing what works and what it didn't. Radio number 8, General Radio Telephone. It's the vibration surface number 2. Like I mentioned, I have one of those in my collection somewhere. It doesn't sound quite as good as yours, Paul. It does receive. I don't think it's ready for prime time as a net control station, but it will certainly be able to check in to net control. Thank you.
Break OTR.
And there's a break OTR. Hold on 1 second, break OTR. I wanted to submit a photo. We were talking, and Walter had mentioned about the different front plate on the Johnson Viking Messenger. Also, this, I noticed it has a microphone plug. Let me bring it up on the video so people watching can see what we're talking about here. Now, Harvey mentioned that could be a 202, but I don't know. That certainly has the look of the Messenger Viking. It's got the 2 pilot lights, squelch and volume, and I wonder if that's an aftermarket ad with what I'll assume is the microphone jack, because of course the Messenger had the hardwired microphone, so I wonder if that was just somebody's modifications. The radio's serial number 25 and a 1962 date with the FCC ID. And and Walter's confirming that it's not the 202. So that's a very rare version, or an alternate version of the Messenger. Maybe a later version, if it's from 62. Interesting. Thanks for sending those photos. And I'll talk to Rob. I'd like to get that also as one of our choices, one of our selections for the video, in case somebody happens to check in on that, since we do have the 223 with mod light and no mod light. Thank you, Walter. Let me go over to our breaking station, who is so patiently standing by. This is the Old Tube Radio Network listening.
37 standing by. 131 there in Old Town Clovis.
Beautiful Old Town Clovis. Got a couple stations that check in from Old Town. Let me get to the SWL sheet there, John, and we will make you official on the big board as I mark you in on the analog paper, SWL 131. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Mr. Rude, one of our longtime listeners from way back, I think I found you on the 1989-90 list, somewhere in there, and was away from the radio for a while, at least here, and then came back and was surprised that Old Tube Radio Network was still going strong. So might be a lot of you out there that checked in or listening from years ago that are still listening, and we're glad to have you back and have you around. And there's a lot of you who've never gone away. You've never gone away. You are still here, just like a lot of us, checking in radios. Just like this guy. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Dennis. It is me once again. This time, I'm going to check in on my helicopter's model, Super MC3A. MC3A. What am I talking about? I'm looking at the wrong radio. It's my Super MC11A, the 24-channel version of this here. We're running this here with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
Boy, that is loud. General Radio Telephone. We just got through talking with the General Radio Telephone VS2. Fast forward about 10 years from that one, 9 or 10 years from that one, and you have the radio on which Chris is talking. The carbon microphone is still there. I think you're talking on one, but boy, does the audio have some punch. Over.
Well, I don't think this is a carbon microphone on this or on the on the general radio.
Is that one? Maybe not. I'm looking at the front of it, and it's probably a ceramic. I'm going to say that would be a push to get that kind of audio out of a carbon microphone, but it is the stock microphone, that's for sure.
Yeah, it don't weigh anything near like that carbon microphone, let me tell you.
So if you drop it on your foot, you might live to talk about it.
Yeah, and talk about it even again later.
All right, Radio 9, General Radio Telephone Super MC11A with 9 tubes, and of course the ECLL 800 on the modulator output that's helping with that audio. Chris has a pretty good radio voice as well, but the radio's helping out, I think.
Yeah, just call me Linear Lungs.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, Linear Lungs are not quite the Harvey range boost, and we'll be talking with Harvey about his range boost coming up next. Radio 9, give us another transmission on the General. Thanks for bringing it by.
You bet, Dennis. Thank you for being there as always. Anyway, this is it for me. I'm going to get on my other radio so I can listen. So you take care over there, and we will be hearing from you soon.
All right, back to being an SWL, which is a good thing on the old tube radio network. Getting some liquid refreshments while we go over to the other studio for the Jingle Singers. And Harvey, SWL 20, you will be next, so step on up to the air chair, and we'll get you after the Jingle Singers.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And Fresno, California to the rest of the world, oldtuberadio.net. Hello to those watching our video. And Stan, I didn't see your comment, but we'll do an addition to our E.F. Johnson radio that we showed, mentioning that was a limited production series for the salespeople. Kind of dolled up, if you will, to go out and sort of promote and get people excited about the E.F. Johnson line of Class D CB radios. And who else? Larry, radio ham guy, might actually know about that. He ran around the E.F. Johnson factory as well. Thanks, Stan. And also, thanks, Walter, for some history lessons on the E.F. Johnson. And Breaker Broke 23 saying he misses his Super MC8, another loud radio. I'm not sure if they have the ECLL 800 on that one or not, but when they started putting that modulator tube in there, they were just screamers with, and like you heard with Chris, you did not need really any amplification on the audio. All right, I'm going to sit back and relax here, the Old Tube Radio Network, and I do believe SWL 20 is at the microphonium. Hello, Harvey.
Hey, Roger. I'd like to check in a realistic TRC 27A.
Realistic TRC 27A. Wait a minute. I think I have one of those. Isn't that a Navajo?
No, not a Navajo. This is the upgrade from the TRC 27.
Now, let me grab up a picture. Why does it say no image available? Even when there is. We've got a schematic. Why do I not have a picture of the TRC 27A? Well, maybe I can find one here. Tell me about this TRC 27A. This must have been their final Probably one of their final tube radios before they started doing the solid state thing over.
Well, I'm not exactly sure. This is the upgrade from the 27. If you check on that schematic, you'll see that it goes to a picture of it in Sam's photo pack. The first page of the Sam's photo pack, and it'll show a picture of the radio. I do not have the original stock mic. They wired a dynamic mic into this thing. So that's what I'm using. I'm gonna, well, even though it won't be stock anymore, I'm gonna put a mic plug on the front. The hole is just about big enough, and I'll make it slightly bigger, put a 4-pin plug, because I need the wires. Anyway, this is an upgrade from the TRC-27. This one has, get this, 3 times the channel of the 27. 3 times. Yes, this one is a 3-channel reading. No meter. It's got a little window above the channel selector. You take the front little window panel off and you plug the 6 pencils. There's 3 transmit reading feeds. And this came with channel 11. Anyway, I had to do a little work on this, but it's going close on frequency, and maybe in a week or so I'll have a better microphone for it.
All right, I found a shot, and I misspoke. I think my Navajo is a TRC-30. TRC-27A. Boy, this almost looks like a homebrew radio to me. There's the picture. It says TRC-27A on the front. There's the big 3 channels. Have you taken your magic marker and written in the channels on the little boxes there?
No, I haven't. I'm not going to do that. I just know that straight up and down the center channel is going.
Yeah, put channel 11 right in the front. That'll be a good thing to do. I was just looking for something here on that radio. I don't have a production date for that. And I think your idea about trying a different microphone, the audio sounds fine, it's just undermodulated. So if there's probably a way to get a little bit more smoke in the audio department, it would be interesting. Otherwise, it's doing good, and I'll check your crystal frequency on the next go-around. Go ahead.
Okay. But it's wired in. I didn't have time to get some other microphones on it, but I'm going to do that. I don't mind not keeping it totally stock, because it's not totally stock now with the stupid mic on there. The front is near flawless. It's almost perfect. So that's kind of why I got the thing. Anyway, I've got some, I think it's got, let me see, 4, 8, 10 tubes, and 8 of them appear to be original. The only ones that aren't are the modulator, 6825, and the final output, 6AR5, which is an oddball, but I can find them. So I might get 1 or 2 spares. But it tests real good. Anyway, I had to do a little work to get it on the air, but it's fine now. Receiver's pretty good considering. And I'll get a better mic on it, hopefully by next week.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a little bit of a job because you've got a hardwire system going in there. Audio sounds good. 27-08425. Sure, about 700 low is what I get. Maybe 600, 700 low. Can't really Can't really tell. And 3 times the fun from the update, right? From the TRC 27. That was big back in the day. People don't realize how spoiled they are with their 40-channel radios. When you would wait for the update to come out and go from 1 channel to 3 channel, and you could be happy with that. Over.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you had the crystals, you could play quickie plug in, plug out. With the, you take out 3 of the screws, and then you slide the window a little up to the left, and then you could take the center crystal, center left, transmit center right speed, unplug and plug in other channels, so you can quickly go to, all 23 channels if you could do that quickly. On the TRC-27, the 2 crystals were inside, you had to take it apart.
Hence, just adding a switchable 1, 2, 3 makes life a lot easier. I will ask a question just because I am curious from looking at the photo. And if you go above, on the top of the radio above the channel selector, I noticed there are 3 what I'll call metal caps or something at the top. Are those tuning areas where you could tune something from the radio without taking the case off? I don't know. You may have the radio stuck in a shelf where you can't see what I'm talking about. But on the top, there are those 3 metal little discs or caps above the channel selector area. What's going on there? Over.
Okay. I believe there's 2 across each other in the front and 1 behind the inside one just above it. Is that correct?
You are correct. Over.
Okay, the lower left is a transmit, and then the right front is receive. The one behind it, receive. Little teaching, I guess. Now, you can't see it because the radio is on an angle, but it is missing a little door on the back left side, and that's where the final load and tune are. And there's a little switch in there below those 2 in the middle, and you flip it to the left, and it's a dummy load with a light bulb, and you're supposed to be able to tune for brightness, so you're not on the air. The only problem is that puts out 6/8 of a watt, swing to about 1.5 watts. And then when you flip it to over the air, you're at about 2 1/4, swing to about 4.5. But you can't see that from the picture. But I'm missing that little door, which bothers me. But it's on the side, and if you don't tell anybody, I won't.
Missing the door, we won't say a thing. And we can't really tell from the photo. Well, this is a new one on me. When you said the TRC-27A, there was another, like an Allied or Realistic that I thought it was, and it wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't the TRC-30. And I'm not even sure if we've ever checked one of these in before. We don't have a picture in the database. So, yeah, you may have to send Rob a shot of that one when it gets all polished up. And we can insert it in and take a picture where we don't see that the door is missing. TRC-27A from Realistic. So this has got to be, I'm thinking this has got to be their last tube radio. I wonder if this was produced in the U.S. Because most everything else after that was not. Maybe nothing they had was produced in the U.S. I don't know. Just interesting stuff. We'll find out more about it. There is, did you tell me this? There is something when it says Citizen Band transceiver on the speaker. Is that a light? Is that a screw after the word transceiver, or is that just a little logo thing? What is that?
That's the power on light. The little incandescent bulb with a jewel. You are thinking of the realistic TRC. That's X23A. That's the quote Courier 23, Courier 23 Plus, blah, 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 style, chassis, 23-channel radio. There are several versions of it. The Canadian version, it doesn't say realistic, it says something else. But sitting on the shelf over here, I have a realistic TRC X23A, which is the 23-channel, and it's all beautiful.
All right, thank you. That is exactly correct, the X23A, because I believe Paul checks in on one of those, and it was a fancy radio. That's what I was thinking. When this one showed up, it was like, where's the S meter? Where's all the fancy stuff? So this was probably a nice entry-level radio. I don't have a price point on this, but I bet it was semi-reasonable. But I don't ever remember seeing this in any Radio Shack catalog that I looked at, but when I was looking at them, it was late 60s, early 70s, or early 70s anyway, and everything was a solid state by that time. Radio 10, the realistic TRC 27A. My guess is there may not be too many of these around, but the good thing about the old Tube Radio Network is we seem to find a lot of the rare radios. And thanks to our Tube Radio operators and SWLs, digital SWLs that have great information on these radios, where they came from, little tidbits that they've gleaned over the years, really makes it interesting and informative. So thanks to everybody tonight who has chimed in at one time or another about our radios checking in tonight. All right, Harvey, I think this one is a player. Look forward to the fact that it might have a different microphonium. It definitely could use a little bit more audio gain, but I don't see anything wrong with the quality. It's close to being on frequency, and the power output, even for 4 watts or whatever you have, is doing a fine job. Over.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Over.
I'm on the light bulb dummy load.
All right, let me look at the S meter. My noise level is S7. Try it again on the light bulb dummy load. Over.
Okay, light bulb dummy load. 4 watts, swinging to about 1.5, and I can actually hear you.
All right, you are my noise level is S7, you are S8. Actually, that's at the modulation peaks. When you're not modulation, it goes back down to the noise. But your audio sounds not much different than it did before.
Okay, I'm back with the Harvey Rainbow. Anyway, I just thought I'd see, since it's quiet, if you could hear me on the light bulb dummy load. Apparently what they do is they put that light bulb in parallel, I believe, with the, kind of parallel, I guess, with the output wire and ground, and you get what you get. Similar to how they get the audio light in some of these early sonars. Okay, I got one more to do, and then some info, and I'll be done.
Question?
All right, and we have a question, so don't go away if it's in regards to what you're doing. And there, signal-wise, there really isn't much difference. Maybe another 3 dB, half an S unit. Audio comes up a little bit, but there's no big noticeable difference. Whatever you do, from the dummy load to wherever you are now. The audio does come up, though, a little bit more on the realistic TRC 27A. There is a question or comment. Question. Go ahead. Over.
Hey, Harvey, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but was this a recent purchase? And if so, was it from eBay?
Roger. Steve A. Merchant. And the other two radios, I was supposed to get one today, but unfortunately due to certain situations, it's still in L.A. at my son's house. And I'll be getting it middle of next month. I'm going to go down and visit. I'll pick it up, and then a week before that I get another one. But yeah, this is the recent purchase.
Okay, got it. I've always had a soft place in my heart for the TRC radios because that's the first thing that got me hooked on this net. So, sounded great. Okay.
Okay, I'm out, Dennis. I'm warming up the other.
Okay, agreed. Sounding great. And I'll put a picture back up. Realistic TRC 27A. As Harvey mentioned, the deluxe upgrade from the TRC 27 with 3 times more channels. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California. 27085 is our frequency if you're in the RF mode. If you're anywhere else, you're probably listening to us, if it's live, it's the August 18th at oldtuberadio.net. Streaming audio with the glowing 6L6 or the video. Hello to everyone out there at Google, YouTube, or maybe you're listening to the archives. In the meantime, the jingle singers will tell you about the magic that is OTR.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
And we'll be counting and amounting soon, but there's still time to check in a radio or get checked in on an SWL.
Contact.
The contact to go, over.
70 lead check-in, please, over.
SWL 70, no problem. We were running a little later tonight, but that is okay. And I just picked up the shortwave listener list to do some counting and amounting, so we'll add you into the mix. Sounding good. I wasn't sure if you... I actually made it out to the little FARC picnic thing. Bingo, whatever it was this afternoon. And I didn't see you there, so I'm assuming you weren't down at the bottom of the swimming pool or in the Radio Shack.
That is affirmative. I was not. I did not do that. We had some stuff running around here, and it's just been... it's been a full month. I'll leave it at that. Anyhow, I'm glad I caught up with you guys this evening to check in. Good hearing you.
Yeah, you and me both. I've spent most of it up on the roof, which is not where you want to be during the heat wave, but that's how things turn out. Thank you, Mark, for checking in. And, Ravenhound to Timtron up in the Pacific Northwest, up there in Washington State. And he is also amazed at the TRC 27A. Yeah, I agree with it. I didn't even know they did that one. I had a TRC 30, which was the solid state in Navajo. And last week, we talked to, was it Seattle and Spokane? They just popped in right at the end of the net. We had some great conditions. So it's been absolutely quiet for the whole net. We haven't heard like one speck of DX going on tonight. So maybe what's the meteors, the Perseids have poked enough holes that the signal's leaking out. Anyway, hello, Tim. And counting and mounting and listening for radio check-ins in the Old Tube Radio Network.
All right. How about a Robin from the Radio Lounge?
I think we can do a Robin from the Radio Lounge. It's probably really, really nice out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is. We've had the air conditioning going pretty much all day today, so it's not in the 80s in the Radio Lounge. For this Robin T123B, which has definitely been putting off a lot of heat because of its instant on feature. I was going to check in another radio, but I pulled the trigger on the microphone and it seems to have misfired. So I've kind of apparently I might have another sick radio, but this one is not sick. Like I said, the Robin T123B, thankfully, with the instant on feature where you just you flip that switch and as long as it's been plugged in, apparently you're good to go.
You are good to go. Some of the old receivers, shortwave receivers like that. They had a sort of a standby switch. Just keep the filaments warm, but save everything else. Similar to this, the 123B, which I think is a clone. I don't think any of the other clone chassis had that off the 123B. We have a photo, if you're watching the video, or over at oldtuberadio.net, on the likeness to which the radio, on the radio that Mike is talking with the green front. And what can I tell you about it? That was a popular radio for Robin, and it's 1972 to 1976. The only reason it didn't keep going longer than that is the 40 channels happened, and so pretty much all the 23-channel radios became obsolete instantly. 11 tubes, 2 transistors. The audio sounds great. Back to you. You are Radio 11.
Well, that's good. Well, I always appreciate getting decent audio reports on this. It does not have an amplified microphone. This one does have what I'm assuming is the original mic, a Robin branded mic. What's on the back? Hold on. Now, it says, on the back of the mic, it says T123B Japan. So I don't know if you want to comment on who may have manufactured the microphone, but it's fun. The plastic on this microphone still looks really shiny. I mean, it literally looks brand new. And I think, as I've said a couple other times, this is probably the best-looking radio in my collection as far as paint is concerned, and all the knobs are there, and all that good stuff. I do wish it had maybe a better indicator of what I'm doing. You can't really see, unlike the 123, the plain old Robin 123, where the S meter kind of the back of it is white. This one is black on this thing, so it's a little hard to read the meter if you're more than 2 feet away from it. It does have a small modulation lamp. Definitely not doing a whole lot right now. I don't have the range expand on. Maybe it'd be more fascinating if I did have that. But actually, the range expand is on, and the modulation lamp still doesn't do anything. So hey, there it is. Don't expect a lot of or much of a light show.
Audio sounds good. I was going to say, I thought it was on. I think we've tried that before by turning it off, and audio almost goes away. You are not 100% modulated, but it certainly sounds good with the carrier here at my station on the receive, which you can hear if you play back the archives or listening to yourself on the delay, which is always not a lot of fun. The radio is a Robin T123B. You are correct. If you see the word Japan, at least on the radio and the microphone, because that is an import radio. I believe it was a Panasonic chassis. So you should see, if you see USA, you've got a one-of-a-kind, I think. It's doing a good job. I don't know if you heard earlier, radio, we were talking about the Helicrafters CB1 with the magic eye. One you might need for your collection, but might be hard to find. And boy, the one that Paul had tonight really sounded great. So something to think about if it ever comes up. But in the meantime, I think your collection that you've got so far, that may or may not be working, at least this one is working, is sounding good. Radio 11, give us another transmission, and we may have another check-in before we sign out tonight, but thanks for popping it by.
Use it. And yeah, the CB1 that you were mentioning, that's definitely been on my radar screen, or at least it was quite some time ago. It kind of faded. I definitely, there's 1 or 2 other radios I want, but I got to say that SWL20, him checking in that, again, that TRC radio, that's awesome, because again, I got into this net because of a TRC handheld, of course, the TRC 217, and I think a couple months ago I kind of spent some time looking on eBay for old Radio Shack radios that happened to be tube, and I didn't have much luck seeing any. So there it is. I guess that's it. I'll get out of here and let someone else kind of pipe in here. But I do want to comment perhaps after the show real quick about the email that I sent you earlier. But anyways, thanks for letting me check it in. Everyone sounds great. And on that, back to you, 73.
Sounding good for sure. Jingle Singers one more time. The Old Tube Radio Network counting and mounting, looking for those last check-ins before we sign off tonight.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
20.
Are you going to be modern for us?
Oh yeah, this is a modern radio. It's the Browning Lavatories R68T68, and it's the Golden Beagle, and it's got like 23 whole channels, so it's a whole lot better than that other one.
Well, lest we judge the quality of radio by the amount of channels it has, which I guess back in the day was sort of a judge by, you know, it had S meters and channels and things like that. I think we have proven tonight that in theory that's not quite the case. From some of our one-channel radios that have sounded excellent to your 23-channel radio, maybe more than 23 channels, that also sounds excellent. As long as they're glowing in the dark and we can hear them and they're on frequency close enough for we get them to check in, they all score A+ here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Back to you.
Yeah, okay. You were talking a lot about Johnson radios, the Messenger 2. The 202, they made, oh God, how many versions of this thing? They made 5 versions, excuse me, as far as input power where you plug it in. Just plain 117 volts. Then 117 and 6 volt DC. Then 117 and 12 volt DC. Then 117 and 24 volt DC. And then 117/230 volt AC with 12 volt DC. Okay. Then they made 5 other versions. And I'll give an example. And now, these examples can have any of the voltages, so figure that out. Okay, the 242, they were all started with the model number 242. The 328-001 was 25 to 30 megahertz. Then the 002, 30 to 35 megahertz. The 003, 35 to 40. The 004, 40 to 45. And the 005, 45 to 50 megahertz. Now there have been several 202s on eBay. The latest one, which I don't know if it's sold or not, I think the auction has ended. I don't know if he's put it back up. That was a 003, 35 to 40 megahertz. Now, it's a good thing the person highlighted that, because for people who thought, oh, I can have a big one-channel, real high-output CB radio type thing, tube radio, this will not tune down. You have to get the, well, it's best to get the model 01. You could just barely get the 02 to work, but the power goes down so much and the receive gets so low that it's not worth it. But the 001, 25 to 30 megahertz, all you got to do is plug in the proper crystals and then retune to those crystals as far as power output and receive gain, and you're all set. And it's a big bad boy. Basically, the white face messenger was kind of based on that, although it didn't do the output. And then the messenger 2, same thing, but not quite the output. Okay, let you go.
All right, I put up a picture of the 202. We were talking about it earlier and sort of mistakenly got it mixed up with what Walter was talking about, which was that version, like the promotional version of the Messenger. And so there's the 202, but yeah, E.F. Johnson was kind of infamous for having their model numbers for separate voltages and whatnot. So good to know about that. And let me see if I can quickly, while we're looking at the 202, go back to the promotional version of the EF of the Messenger. Oh, no, it didn't like that, did it? No, okay, I got it wrong. So anyway, the 202, I don't think we've ever had a 202 check-in. Do you recall?
Now, I've got the guts of one here somewhere. I don't think I got it to work, so I don't think I ever put it on the air. They also made one that's a business band type. It will do 11 meters, so it's the 25 to 30 range. It had an orange stripe across the top above the speaker area. I believe it was across the top. And I can't remember the name of it. It almost sounds like a long Italian word, but I'm not sure. It didn't say something like Dominator or something like that, but it's kind of a weird thing, and you don't think it's a Johnson because it doesn't say Johnson on it, I think, anywhere except inside maybe on the tube. But I don't know, it's trauma something, I can't remember. But it's got an orange stripe with the word in it. And it was also kind of like the 202. If anyone sees a 215, Johnson 215, it looks like that, but from what I can tell, the 215 was only about a 40 some odd megahertz radio, 35 to 40 megahertz in that area, and there weren't that many models of it. It was just that. So if you want to try and get it on 11 meters, don't. But you can do the 202 if you get the right number in the back, the 001, and it might be stamped 242 328-1. It might not say 001, it might say -1, and if you get that, that's the right one. Okay.
All right, well, I'm thoroughly confused, and I'm having trouble getting the right picture, so needless to say, we have gotten a good tutorial tonight on the Johnsons. It'd be interesting to see where you look inside a 202 and you look inside a Messenger or the other Messenger, how similar they are. But E.F. Johnson was pretty busy, and I hope that they kept everything straight. It seems like they did. Thank you for Radio 12, the Browning Golding R68 T68. We're showing a Browning too, but that's okay. Anybody else before we do counting and amounting here on the old Tube Radio Network?
Hey, Mike, are you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Call me at the end of the show.
Okay.
On the phone.
Now, I would say this is pretty much, as he said, the end of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
The current totals and final totals, or whatever. The best we can do. I don't know, I apologize. My audio is low. The receive audio is a little bit high. I had some board reconfiguration, so I hope it wasn't too much of a pain in the you-know-what listening into the audio stream tonight. I will endeavor to do better. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio is glowing in the dark. Running a bit overtime tonight, but that's okay as long as radios are checking in. And people are still around talking. We will hang out. And 202 and the 215 are the business band radios. Okay. Business band probably being type accepted for a little bit more power. And what was the one we checked in last week where on the ad it said it was acceptable since it wasn't a Class D, that it was allowable to be in the 180-foot range on the antenna. Class D was, 60 feet, 20 feet, depending on what year and what FCC decree. But in theory, I guess if you had the business band radio hooked to your coax, and they didn't monitor you being not on the business band, you could have the ham radio tower at 180 feet, assuming you weren't in the flight path somewhere. All right, let me get going here before we lose all our audience and I blow something up. This is the first week of our 8-week roster. So if we're playing the home game, you should have a whole bunch of extra spaces after August 18th. Also, if you're playing the home game, make sure to mark in Mr. JT. The Wasama Swamp is going to be our 00 for the next 8 weeks. And what did we do? We had 8 check-ins on page 115, on page 2, 13, 12 on page 3, and 20 on page 4. That's almost the entire page 4 for a total of 55. Most heard radio manufacturer tonight was Hallicrafters. Right? Browning, General Radio Telephone? No, it was Hallicrafters at 3. That doesn't happen too often. And didn't even need my help with the HT37. Started off with the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Thanks, Louie. That got us started off talking about E.F. Johnson's, the 223 being their deluxe model of all the ones we were talking about. I guess the 202, the 215, the Messenger, the whatever. Hallicrafters CB1 Radio 2 from Fall. Most heard manufacturer tonight, Hallicrafters. This is Courier Royale from Chris for Radio 3. Also, he had the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate for Radio 4. One we don't hear very often, the Hallicrafters CB7. That was from Paul. Thanks, Paul, for bringing by one of the rarer Hallicrafters radios. The CB3A was from Chris. That gave us our third Hallicrafters. Radio 7, the Chris 23 Plus. Radio number 8, the General Radio Telephone VS2. Doing a good job for 1962. The General Radio Telephone Super MC11A for Radio 9. Thank you, Chris, for that. Harvey on the Realistic TRC 27A 3-channel radio. A new one for us, I'm pretty sure. The Robin T123B sounding good. I'm glad it's still working, Mike. Radio 11 and Radio 12 Harvey on his Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. And that is how we have it here at the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. We will be back next Saturday, I believe. I think I will be around. If not, I'll have the audio stream on. I don't know. I'm one of these Saturdays, I think I have to be out of the air chair, so we'll see if we get a substitute or whatever, but I'll have it posted at oldtuberadio.net if things are going to change. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping our Nixie tubes running, and thanks to, of course, to all of you for keeping this net running for 34 years with your shortwave listener check-ins and your tube radio check-ins. Thanks to our digital listeners that like to tune in and give us the knowledge that they have, that they've gathered. We'll try this again. Archives will be up at oldtuberadio.net. We'll keep the videos up for a while if you'd like to replay, or maybe you are watching the replay and missed the live stream. Not a problem. 73, everybody. I think we're going to have some discussions about something here, so I'm going to keep the audio link up. I'll go ahead and shut down the video, but we'll keep the oldtuberadio.net audio link up for a little bit in case we're addressing something that we talked about earlier tonight. Good night. From Central California, Fresno, thanks for listening in. The Old Tube Radio Network, 73.
Thanks a bunch there, Dennis. Thank you for letting me check in this 29 Plus. Have a fine one. Take care. 603 clear.
The rare one indeed. Thanks, Joe, and we'll catch you all later. Good night on video, 73.